Orale, mi gente. What's happening out there? Welcome, welcome. This is the Mr. OG Show, Opportunity Giver. Welcome to KQBH Live Community Radio. This is the Mr. OG Show, a variety show featuring talk, music, community, and youth issues with a positive groove. And I am yours truly, Josof Sanchez, Josof, a.k.a. Mr. OG, which stands for Opportunity Giver. And we have a great show for you today. As a matter of fact, we're going to just bypass everything as far as the preliminaries, and we're going to get straight into the show. We're excited about this particular show. We got some great stuff for you. We got two giants, of outreach, advocates. I'll let them tell their stories.
And I'm Julie Matsumoto. Welcome, everyone. This is the Mr. OG Show, broadcasting live from KQBH Community Radio right here in Boyle Heights. We have a great show lined up for you today. Our in-studio guests are Mr. Jorge Urrea. Welcome,
all right,
Jorge.
Breaking Bad.
Motivational speaker, and he's going to be sharing about his Breaking Bread podcast and YouTube series. And we also have Chef Jay-Z in the house.
Right, Jay-Z.
Welcome,
That's
Chef.
right.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
And Chef Jay-Z is also part of the Breaking Bread podcast series. So
Very much so.
yeah,
Thank you.
so this is a very, very exciting show. And we just want to mention that we have two filmmakers, Hugo Gomez in the studio with us, and also Barlow, who we had previously here on the Mr. OG Show talking about his film Motorhome.
Nice.
Welcome, you guys.
Yeah, that's with
And
our buddy Johnny, huh?
We're filming today's show, and Barlow's doing some BTS photography. So we're really, really excited. And so KQBH LP, Los Angeles, California, 101.5 FM, a community service of the Boyle Heights Arts Conservatory, broadcasting live on your FM dial and streaming on lpfm.la. So welcome again,
Thank you.
Mr. OG, do you want to give a quick update?
No, I want to get right into this, man. I'm excited about this.
This is such a special show today. So I think we want to really dive into our guests. Jorge, we have been sharing about Breaking Bread because this is a project of the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health, Latino USCC.
Yes, ma'am.
And we do have an opportunity for participants between the ages of 18 and 25. Well, actually, it could be high school students, as young as 16 to 25, who are interested in participating to come on board. And we have a process where you can reach out to us and submit your name if you're interested. We want to welcome you both again.
Thank you again for
Yes,
having us.
Yeah, one of the things I want to get into before we move forward is that at the moment there's a lot of chaos going on in the country. As a matter of fact, global. But one of the things that I've been working on for the last 55 years, the boys' ranch that the Los Angeles Rams bought me, and bringing all the kids that perhaps no one wants to work with them, or they, I believe in second chances. Many maybe at a young age they may do something that we call stupid, but I believe that these individuals are able to rise to their fullest and to their full potential. So the Breaking Bread is a concept that is really, really a tremendous concept. I've been challenging some of our young people over at the Tech Center. We have about 30 kids that we're teaching every Friday, and we're teaching them everything about film and how to share their stories.
That's right here in Boyle Heights.
These are young men and women that basically they're not able to really get a hold of being in a large class. Many young kids, their parents are incarcerated, just a lot of challenges, you know. So this for me is really, really an honor to have you guys on board here and share your stories, you know, because this is what it takes, you know. It takes young men and women that are able to open up and share their lives. You know, I know that was very difficult for me. I traveled throughout the country, and everywhere I went, they always wanted me to give my story, and I was really, you know, I said, well, you know, if I'm a motivational speaker, man, I should have, you know, topics on every issue. But no, that wasn't it. I had to humble myself and find out that, right, if they want to hear my story, I'll give it to them, because the madrecitas, the moms, they really need help. And for those madrecitas that are out there right now, we want you to know that we love you so much, and we deeply appreciate, you know, your heart for your child. And never give up on the child. Never. And so basically, I want to get on with this particular. The concept, breaking bread. Jorge.
Yep.
What is breaking bread in your Julie and I know, because we're producers of the show, right?
Sure.
So and thank you for allowing us to be producers of the show.
No,
and
you know what, I think you guys are a tremendous team, just you and Julie, and I'm very, very, very fortunate to have come across your guys' path, and I am grateful to have you guys on the team to get this podcast on up and going.
Well, it's mutual.
We're so excited. So Jorge, if you could kind of just share how the concept came about,
sure,
and what what the podcast will do.
Yeah, so Breaking Bread, the podcast, I came up with the idea about 3 years ago, and I just had an idea because I did a few podcast interviews myself, and you know, I thank and I love everybody for the opportunities that were given to me, but at the same token, I kind of felt like I had a better idea to have a more creative type of podcast, you know, and because of my passion in cooking and my passion in the kitchen, I just thought that maybe a cooking podcast would be a good idea. And not only was it a good idea, but it had a big meaning behind it. And that meaning was just to have a space to express not only myself, but those that may be going through some difficult times and that have maybe been through some difficult times. So the concept behind the podcast is to create a creative kitchen environment and provide a place where someone can express themselves while cooking something up. And ultimately, you know, by breaking bread, that means that we're going to break bread together. And at the end of the show, that's exactly what's going to happen. Me, myself, my great friend, Chef Jay-Z, and also our good friend Des, we're going to break bread together, and we're really going to hear these people's stories, and we're going to give them as many professional and real life pointers as we can, and to maybe give them a little boost in their life. So that's pretty much the concept. Yeah. Okay, so
we'll be interviewing 10 young men and women. Is that correct?
That's correct. So the guests that will be on the show, they're going to be from the ages of 16 and 25, and they're all going to have the passion to cook. And, you know, a lot of times, including myself, and I know for a fact my friend Jay-Z, is a lot of times us being in the kitchen is how we get away from the reality of the rough life.
Yes.
So that's where this show came from, and that's what we're doing.
Excellent. Jorge, you mentioned, people who have had a rough life, and we have many young people, transitional age youth, high-risk youth, who've experienced trauma from maybe their family, from maybe being out on the streets. Can you, and what we love about your Breaking Bread podcast is that you're such an inspiration, because we know what you have been through, and what you're doing now, and it is truly an inspiration for the young people. Okay. So for our audience, can you just share a little bit about your growing up and a little bit about your story?
Sure, yes. So my story started when I was about nine years old. I just come from a very dysfunctional family. I come from a background of alcohol and drug abuse, both from both of my sides, my mom and my dad's side, and and I just grew up a little bit sad and maybe lacking some hugs and some love, and because of that, at the age of 10, I started threatening my mom that I was gonna end my life, and as a mother, now that I'm a parent myself, I know how tragic that could be for your child to tell you that, and because of that, she took me for a little drive to the mental health facility, and I ended up staying there for 2 years. So that was a big part of my life that I thought I was never gonna come back from, and that's the point. That's the reason why I do what I do today, is to show the youth that may be going through the same thing that I went through, that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and the light's right here.
Very cool, man. So basically, in that particular state of mind as a youngster, what triggered you to say, I'm out of here, and then you ventured into the gang lifestyle?
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct, Jojo. The trigger was simply I kept feeling like people were leaving out of my life, and that started with the absence of my biological father. He was battling heroin abuse, and he did a lot of prison time. Therefore, he was out of my life. And so, I leaned upon my stepfather, Skip, who's also resting in peace. He was a big part of my life. He's the one that I give credit to for showing me like morals and how to respect people and so on and so forth. And when I find out, him and my mom were going to get a divorce, I just thought my world was over. Another guy that I depended on for love and nourishment and lesson was leaving from my life. So I at 10 years old, that was crushing to me, and the only thing I could think about was not living anymore. And that was that's what triggered that whole,
the gang element.
Being institutionalized, and going through being restrained with leather restraints as a kid. That I don't wear my seatbelt today for that very reason, because I don't like to be restrained. So it definitely makes an impact on
kids.
That's
fantastic. And one of the things right now, we're gonna get to our chef in a moment, right?
Yes, sir.
But I want to get just to lay out the groundwork for him,
Yes,
so
sir.
he can just go ahead and fly. Right now we're going through a major chaos right now here in LA County alone. I was a probation commissioner for Gloria Molina, rest in peace. My task was to oversee, along with 12 other individuals from the community, my task was to oversee all the camps. There was 21 camps in 2 major juvenile halls, and so basically, I would go in there, and I began to, because I was a product. Mm-hmm. I was in juvenile hall when I was 12 years old, so I was a product, and I can really feel, man, what you're sharing, man, because, pretty much, living the barrio, man, there's a lot of beautiful things, but then at times there's some hardships,
Yes, sir.
And right now we're facing a major crisis, and I repeat myself, with Los Padrinos right now is on hold right now. I think we have something like maybe, I would say no more than maybe 200-300 there, but every other camp, it's like 10 or 15 kids. They're closing them all down. They're Eastlake, Central Juvenile Halls. It's one of the largest and one of the oldest juvenile halls in the entire world, and so that particular place has been shut down, and so Scudder, where the girls are at, there's no more than probably 15 or 20.
Wow.
Where usually they would have 80 to 85, So everything's being shut down, and all the young kids are being shuffled around to use, these lockups and on their ankle braces, which is a lucrative job if you take a real good look at it, right?
For sure.
And so the kids are wondering, they get up and they're at home, but then they go back to a center anywhere in their particular location because there's nowhere. There are people that think there's a lot of educated derelicts, that sit on these boards and all, and they, for the last 50, 60 years, been saying this is what we have to do for these kids, and so. I consider that no way, man. I mean, no one has that particular approach. And what you're doing, both you and our chef here, what you guys are doing, man, in the area of telling a kid, that's has an ankle brace, and he's gonna come on the show. Is hey vato, what's up, man? Hey, listen, what's your favorite food? And the kid will say, oh, I like tacos, man. You like tacos? Yeah, corn tortillas, tacos? Yeah. Okay, so you're going to be cooking with Jorge and the chef here. You're going to be cooking tacos, man, in the kitchen, and you're going to be filmed, and you're going to be able to touch a homeboys and homegirls somewhere down the line.
Yeah.
And then, the whole thing, I already see it. I mean, I love it, and so I know you Jorge say, well, how come you love tacos, and then the bomb, that precious bomb hits, man, because my grandmother raised me, and she used to make the best tacos.
Yep.
And we go from there.
Yep.
So I commend you guys, man.
Thank you.
I really commend what you're doing. Let's go over to the chef over here.
Big Chef
man.
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z in the house.
The man, the myth.
Hey,
JC.
Thank you for having me.
So JC, it's wonderful to have you here, and I understand your mama lives right behind King Taco, huh?
Yeah,
Interesting.
we live right there, right in
The original,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember back in the days, it was just like a little truck.
A little truck there.
And the burritos were big.
Huge.
Now they're 2 bites.
You're gone, yeah.
And they cost $15.
Yes, they do. So JC, tell me, what school did you go to?
I went to Garfield High School.
Okay, how about...
But I don't want to say I graduated from Garfield. I went there, I just never went into my classes.
Okay, I'm like you, man. Same thing. Went to Garfield.
Yeah.
Then I went to Roosevelt. Then I went to... Yeah, right. So the thing is, what middle school did you attend?
Griffith.
Griffith. Okay.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Griffith,
Yeah.
We grew up, like I said, right there on 3rd and McBride. And, we were there till, well, at least I was there until, I started getting into trouble. So,
I see.
Yeah.
I see. So basically, what was it like, growing up?
I mean, it was, honestly, it was a lot of fun growing up. I was, as a young kid, I always knew that I was gonna be a chef someday.
Wow.
That's right.
I was I just had the love and the passion for the food.
How did that trigger in your life?
I could clearly remember. Like on Sundays when all the family will come over for, the Sunday parties. Back in the days, that's how it was. Me as a youngster, all my cousins will be there and all the young kids will be there playing, and I was in the kitchen with my grandma.
Wow.
Yeah. I was in the kitchen with my grandma. I was tasting, she would put a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And it really excited me. It was something that, it fascinated me. And like I said, I knew at a young age that that's what I was going to do.
How old were you at that time?
I want to say 5, 6 years old.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And not just that, all the cousins there, all the family there, everybody eats. But I always ate the best. I always ate the best.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was a bonus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So take me basically how was the transition of you saying I'm going to be a legit chef and today you're a renowned chef that we deeply appreciate that you're giving yourself and your story to these youngsters, man.
So like I said, I always wanted to be a chef, but I didn't really take it serious until I kind of got my first opportunity at the age of 18.
18.
When I first got hired with a very, very large company. A good, my director at the time that hired me, still my good friend to this day. He gave me the opportunity, and I didn't come in as a cook or as a chef. No, I came in washing pots, taking the trash out, cleaning tables. So I really had to work my way up and climb that ladder to get to what I wanted to do. And I clearly remember this man by the name of Mr. Scott Freeman, and I'm gonna shout him out because he gave me my first opportunity. I remember leaving notes on under his desk, like under his door when he would leave from his office, or I knew what kind of car he drove, so I would leave notes. I want to cook. I want to cook. I want to cook. So I think he finally got tired and gave me that shot. And once he did, I ran with it. I didn't look back.
So we could say that mentoring works.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. So important.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm so excited to be part of this podcast, because back in the days when I was coming up, we really didn't have these platforms, you know. It was either, you know, your probation officer telling you, you know, you got to do this, you got to do that. Of course, my mom has been a big influence in my life. But at that time, I didn't care. I was just doing my thing. So to have these platforms now and what my brother George is doing, I mean, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. And
absolutely.
And we're really hoping to, if we could capture one kid.
That's it.
If we could capture one, we've done our job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's very true. You know, the issue is, though, that is, you know, they move on and they begin to say what JC says, if I can capture one, you know, and it just ripples, you know. On the 40-acre Boys Ranch, I brought young men that were in YA, a lot of YA kids, and a lot of, many of them are no longer with us, you know, but we did capture quite a few, you know, that today are, you know, very, very respected. You know, I have one kid over in Bakersfield, and he's doing a wonderful job out there. Got his own TV show, but he's giving back, and this is what this is all about right here. You know, we are pretty much, you know, beyond the gang lifestyle and all that, and you know, sure, and like you said, we had fun, you know, but we also saw many of our young friends, you know, deceased, you know. And many today that are, you know, I just got word that my cousin, he was arrested there at the East LA, the parade, the yearly parade. He was 17. He basically, they made him drive. Well, he chose to drive the truck, and they shot into a neighborhood and they killed a young man there. And he was only 17, so they gave him 25 years to life. I just got word, this was my primo, you know, and I just got word that they had to carry him out in a casket, man. He spent from 17 and never came home, man. He died at 70 years of age, you know. And those are the things that, this is what this is all about, what we're doing right here, man. We believe that every young person, man, is unique, is special. You know, there's nobody like them. When they fingerprint the kids, you know, there's nobody like those fingerprints. Mm-hmm. There's only one you. And you are special, and you are engineered for greatness. Sure. You're not engineered to live in a, you know, really in a bathroom all your life. So basically, we just want you to really pull your shoulders back. Look straight onto yourself in the mirror, man, and understand that you're going places. And we're here to extend our hands. You know, JC's here and my boy here. We're here, man, to extend our hands out to you.
Chef, when you were in school, middle school or high school, you didn't have any programs for those students interested in the culinary field to kind of like prepare you or, you know, expose you to that industry?
Well, to be quite honest with you, like I kind of joked earlier, but all of my pretty much, high school, well, junior high and high school, I was incarcerated. So I mean, there was, if you mentioned earlier the camps. I mean, when I would go to camp or I would go to either CYA, wherever, I would always try to join the kitchen crew. Because I had a passion for it, and like I said earlier, I mean, you always eat the best when you're part of that kitchen crew.
That's true, man.
But that was I didn't have options at the time, but I was trying to take a bad opportunity and make it a good opportunity, because not only was I was learning more from other chefs or other people that are in charge, but it's always been in my life. It's always been in my life. Wow. But one thing I could honestly, like, if there is any kids out there listening and that are, inspired to be a chef or to be a cook or to be in the food service industry, I would definitely say, and I wish somebody would have told me this like a long time ago, is take a college, a junior college class.
Absolutely.
Soups and sauces. And if you pass that and you really still have a passion for it, I mean, go for it. That's it. Because unfortunately nowadays, magazine and TV, they really glamorize, this profession, and parents send their kids to culinary school at, San Francisco and in different places, these big CIA classes, and the kids end up being in debt. With the big bill the parents still have to pay, and they get into the field and they say, this is not for me.
Absolutely.
You're in a hot kitchen, you're working pressure against the clock, and they say, this is not what I want to do after they completed the course, and there's a big debt there for $45,000.
You're so right.
Absolutely.
And we're big supporters of community colleges.
Yes.
And Trade Tech College actually has
one of the best
program for culinary.
There's a lot of good culinary programs that are not so expensive.
Yes.
And they're still delivering the same lessons as a big CYA class.
So I think that this is one of the reasons that Jorge really, in particular, wanted to outreach to young people who have an interest in culinary. Sure. Like maybe, they have a similar background to yourself, or they grew up knowing that they really wanted to learn to cook, and this is an opportunity to get to work with both of you.
I'm gonna tell you one thing, and I'm speaking from the heart. I'm being honest. Food saved my life. That's right. The culinary saved my life. And I mean, I think that's all I could say about that.
It became your life.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It became your life.
And I mean, just like I said, I didn't go straight into that. It took me a while to get to where, and it's still going. I haven't stopped yet.
Right.
You can never stop learning, but it's gotten me to where I was able to buy a home for my family, and to be able to provide for my family.
Great.
And like, again, if through this podcast, Breaking Bread, we could capture one, or even two kids.
You're a success story.
And I mean, we've done our job.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to share your story about how you persevered, to get that first job and work your way up, working in, washing dishes and whatnot. Before you became a chef.
I don't know that voyage, my boy. That wasn't easy.
I mean, honestly, even when I did get my first job, and at the time it was at Torrance. I was working at Torrance, being that I was, I was from East LA. Every night after I got out of my job, after I did either I was washing pots or taking out the trash, I said to myself, if I'm going to be a pot washer, I'm going to be the best pot washer there is.
That's right.
If I'm going to be taking out trash, guess what? I'm going to be the fastest. I would do everything I needed to do at work, and felt really good when I left, but I still had to come back to East LA. And that's where the temptation was, and that's where the peer pressure was,
Back to the nest.
So it was like it wasn't just I went, I started cooking, and the rest, what I mean.
It happened. It happened that way.
It hasn't been easy.
There's no free lunch.
And I think that's the message we have to send the youth.
Yes.
That what, if you're doing something and you feel it's easy, something's not right.
Right.
You know, there has to be that pressure.
Yes.
There has to be that, intense feeling where, if, like I said, if it's not there, something's not right. So, I mean, I grew through my career, but never getting comfortable. Never getting comfortable. What I mean by that is
Good word.
Yeah, what I mean by that is, I set my goal, but then it's like, okay, I'm gonna take the next one. A lot of people don't want to take the next one because they feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Once you take that next one,
You're
it's like,
killing
man, why did I do this?
Yeah.
But then that's the challenge. You have to challenge yourself to get through that to where, all right, I did it. I feel good now. What's next? So
JC, tell me. Okay, so here you are, washing dishes, the best dishes in town, right?
Oh, the cleanest.
The cleanest. Okay, right.
Like
yeah.
mirrors. I would leave the plates like mirrors.
That's right. That's right.
Squeaky clean.
So, Yen, did you prepare your mindset that, okay, I got this opportunity and I'm gonna get up, and how was your schedule like? I mean, then did you drive to the location?
No, like I said,
no, he didn't walk.
No, like I said, I was coming from East LA, to the job at Torrance, and to be quite honest with you, I got hired when I turned 18, and from the time prior to being 18, I was at a court school, so it was pretty much like a group home for men where they get you ready to rehabilitate and get back into society. So when I did turn 18, I had to go back home to East LA, and that's where I said, okay, I need my job. I need to be working. So I would take 3 buses to get from East LA
That's right.
to the location.
That's right.
And to be quite honest with you, sometimes I would fall asleep and I would miss my stop. And then I would,
To and fro.
Yeah. But honestly, I've had a really good mentor all my life, which this man is still in my life and still mentoring me and business partner. And, we're looking at great opportunities for the future.
Absolutely.
But it hasn't been easy. The same 3 buses I would take to work, I would have to take them back at nighttime. And most of the times I was coming back on the bus and I would probably be soaked from washing all those pots. So, I mean, the thing is, again, us trying to capture the youth and trying to tell them about these experiences. One thing that I could tell you, Jojo, is that I never gave up.
That's a great word.
I just kept going and kept going. The harder it got, I just pushed a little bit more. And honestly, I don't want to say that, I made it, because we're still struggling and we're still working it. But the philosophy works.
Incredible. So tell me, here you are alone, catching the bus in East LA, okay? Then here you are on the bus, and then here you are at the site. How did you keep all those thoughts and there's a freeway in our brain, man, in our mind, crossing different subjects and what. How did you? Because that's where I find that a lot of young people, man, their mindset, is it's something like what 3,000 thoughts go through your mind, in a week. So what was it like? Because I want to show how breaking bread is such a phenomenal. We're going to be not just cooking for those of you. We're going to be basically teaching and grooming and as my boy said here, mentoring. Mentoring works, man. Without mentoring, believe me, so you want to do something productive, those are mentor, become a mentor, learn about it. So take me on that. Let's take a kid, man, from the corner of Ford in Brooklyn, waiting for the bus.
Well, honestly,
well, it was before that. You got to get up and.
Oh no, yeah.
It's that whole mindset,
It's the whole mindset, but at the same time, it's being willing, it's being committed, it's being, what I really want to do something with my life, and at the same time, there's times that you want to give up.
Absolutely.
You want to give up.
That's
you know
I'm
what?
going
I'm
there.
not going to take these 3 buses to work today. I'm going to call in sick. you know. But that's when you push yourself even more, you know. And honestly, it when I really saw the change in my life is when I left my neighborhood, when I got out of that environment, you know. And I really completely understand that even now more than ever, it's hard to just pick up and move out of, you know, the hood,
Yeah.
you know, because of financial reasons or whatever it may be. But that's when I really changed my life. That's when I said,
You took the final step.
I just left I cut a lot of people off. And I said, if these people are not helping me in my life, I don't need them in my life. You know, I try to surround myself around positive people like my man here. And it's like we're all growing together.
Yeah.
We're all growing together. We're learning from each other. We're learning that, you know, the mistakes that we've done in the past, we could capture these youth and tell them about that so they don't have to make the same mistakes that we did. You know, and I think that's important.
You're
I think that's the key.
You're absolutely right. You know, I mean, I tell a lot of the homies and gentlemen that, you know, you played with them in the sandbox, you know, and, you know, elementary school, and then you go into, you know, middle school, then eventually high school if you make it, you know. But I tell them, look, man, I have my neighborhood in my heart, but not in my mind. My mind is to educate, motivate, build, you see. And so, because, I mean, I just had a homeboy, super guy, man, you know, he just passed yesterday. And I loved that homie, man. I loved him, you know. But, you know, that motivates me mentally to do more, to touch these lives, you know. You know, if you really love me as a homeboy, then listen to what I'm saying, you know. You know, you see me on TV, you see me over here, you hear what we're doing, you know. You can do the same, you know. And so I just can't wait to take both of you to the trade center, the tech center. So you can, in fact, we're booking you guys already, yeah, and get you to talk to the kids there, and film it, and everything. Getting the word out, you know. Like you said, you know, just one person, and what it takes is just one word, man.
Yep.
You say something, just that one word can hit the coro, man. Once it hits the heart, man, you're on, man.
I think I want to say something real quick regarding you know, just getting the word out. My whole motivation behind all of this is not only to you know, obviously help people in their passion of cooking, but you know, we come from some crazy stories, you know, growing up in the hoods, and a lot of these youngsters think they're the only ones going through that, and what I love to tell these youngsters, and what I get from sharing my story, is that you're not the only one.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Whether
right.
we're 45 or whatever, and you're 16, like, we're going through the same thing, right, Jay-Z? Like, I think that's what's important, you know, to assure these youngsters that they're not the only ones thinking of killing themselves. They're not the only ones running from getting jumped into the barrio and eventually getting jumped into the barrio, and now thinking you're a piece of, you know, the slime in the bottom of an old pool. You know what I'm saying? Our message is, you know, if you choose that life, then you just have to really be ready for those dark times, you know. And unfortunately, a lot of our youth, they find out the hard way, and they don't have nobody to tell them, don't worry about it, mijo, we've been through the same thing. This is what you can do to avoid that. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, I didn't have that, you know, and I learned everything through execution. You know, I executed being a gang member, and I did the best I can, and I ended up being shot 5 times and losing my brother, and so on and so forth. And a lot of these youngsters aren't ready for that. You know, they're looking at social media and seeing how cool it looks to be a gangster, but our motive is, you're gonna go through some hard times in life, but don't give up.
Yes.
You know, and my personal thing is, all bad times are temporary, you know, and that's what these youngsters need to know.
Excellent.
Because you know, unfortunately, the youth is ending their own lives because of small issues that they may be have in front of them, and they're ending their lives because they think there's no solution.
Yes.
When me and my homie Jay-Z right here, we're the solution, and that's
Yes.
what we're pushing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
You're right on that.
You're listening to the Mr. OG show here at KQBH Community Radio, broadcasting from Boyle Heights. Our in-studio guests today are Jorge Urrea, who's a motivational speaker, and he's talking about the new project, Breaking Bread, the podcast and YouTube series. And we also have Chef Jay-Z. Both are truly inspirational and have both success stories. And
Absolutely.
so, Jorge, can you share your social media for the Breaking Bread?
Oh, sure. Yeah, if you would like to be on my show, Breaking Bread, the podcast, please follow me on the Instagram, which is breaking_bread_the_podcast. So it's Breaking Bread, the podcast, with underscores in between each word.
On Instagram.
Yeah, on Instagram. You can reach me at my personal Instagram, and that's _CEEZ_UP_1. So C's up 1, along with my friend right here, Chef Jay-Z. Let him know how to contact you, my boy.
I'm at Chef Jay-Z76 on Instagram.
That's right. And you can reach out to us and let us know your interest in being on the show, and we go from there.
Chef Jay-Z76.
Wonderful.
Excellent. So, Jorge, you mentioned because a lot of the youth today are suffering from anxiety, depression, a
Yes.
lot of feeling suicidal and not having anyone to talk to,
Yes.
or, a lot of dysfunctional families, and, they may only have their friends in the streets. What advice can you give to somebody that there is hope? They may really feel,
what?
like their life is not worth living any longer.
Sure, that's the majority, unfortunately.
Yes.
That's the majority of our youth that think like that. First and foremost, you have to have a clear mind. If you're under the influence of some type of narcotic or alcohol, you're going through some hard times, the most important thing about that, and that's what saved my life, is sobriety. Thankfully, I was sober through the hard times I was going through as a youth, and if I wasn't, I probably wouldn't be here, to be honest with you. So I think very importantly is having a clear mind and really just taking a step back and figuring out what you got to work on, and from there you just work one step at a time, and not only that, but the most important message I have is every time you wake up in the morning, you have to have a positive thought. A lot of times when you're growing up in the barrio and you have your homies knocking on your door, you wake up and you really don't care. You don't care other than what's at the moment. So if you youth that are out there and you're listening, and your parents are listening, just remind your children to wake up and have a positive thought, and that will draw out the rest of your day. Straight up.
That's right on. For me, excuse me, I began to hear a lot of these youngsters, they would all say, well, I don't give an F. I don't care. And, and I was in one of the camps, and I had like maybe a month to go. And I had this one kid come in, and he was talking all this madness. He just came on to the camp there for 1 week, man. And I had this other guy that we could never get along, man. But the guy was big, you know what I mean? But I carried my own, you know what I mean? But I said I'm not going to get into anything because I'm on my way home, man. I'm going home, And that one young kid, he talking all this madness, and I says, come here, little homie, man. And I told him, you know what? You see that dude over there, man? I want you to take care of him for me, man. Because you don't care. You don't care. I care. I care about going home, And I utilize that today, as it's a reality.
Yeah.
When you start talking and putting those, I don't care attitude. I have young people right now that write to me from the pinta, from the joint. When I used to work with them and visit them in camps when I was doing my tours, you know what I mean? They were 14, 15, 16. And today they're 30, 35 years of age, man.
Yeah.
And they're locked up in the joint, man. And they tell me, AOG, I'm never going to go home. I'm never going home, man. you know. And that's when they began to say, I'm out. I don't want to be in the prison gang no more, man.
Yeah.
So they get PC.
Yeah, that's a whole different
That's
story.
another story,
But
man.
yeah, for sure, you know, these kids.
They don't know that.
You know, and you can't fault them. You know, a big thing of these youngsters, you can't fault how they're thinking. You can't fault them for acting out.
Because they do put work.
I used to act out because I didn't care, not because I didn't want to not care, but it was the carelessness
pain.
was kind of forced upon me.
pain.
You know what I'm saying? Like all these hurdles that kept coming forth before me, and I didn't care no more. You know what I mean? And I didn't care until I was about 28 years old.
Yeah.
You know, and
You start
I got
caring.
shot 5 times at 24, and I still didn't care. But there comes a time where you start caring and positive things happen.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's the whole truth. You
The-
start
the-
manifesting and you start caring, and amazing things start
Absolutely. I mean, you know,
Damn near magical.
I used to say, man, if I could only have peace,
happening.
you know, if I could only have peace. Bitter because my father died on me on OD. You know what I mean? And so forth. You know, just the world. You know, and I said I just want peace, man. You know, and I looked up the word peace in Spanish, and I said, how do you spell this? And it's P-A-Z. P-A-Z. Positive attitude zone in your dome.
That's it.
And I wake up like that.
That's
I
it.
wake up like that. You know what I mean? You know, when I go in and teach these kids, the first thing I tell them, man, is the top of the day to you. And they look like me. And I said, what I'm saying to you is that you, whether you like it or not, can live a top of the day,
Sure.
no matter what comes your way, baby.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And
That's
so
right.
so I mean, you guys are tremendous. Where are you working at now, bro?
Let them know, carnal. What's your title, my boy?
So I work for a company. It's a food service company. I'm an executive chef for, which is that's the highest you could get to. So
Feel man.
there's still opportunity to move up as a food service director, and that's the next step. But I love what I do, and I do what I love. So I'm gonna keep doing this, and I get young employees that come up, you know, when they get hired, and I want to do what you do, or I want to be in the kitchen, and I think I'm at the opportunity right now and in the position to help a lot of youth.
Yes, absolutely.
That
You
is-
have a phenomenal
That is
platform. Both of you do.
fantastic.
Both of you
And
do.
to be quite honest with you, not a lot of people get put into that position. And just because of my past and because of my struggles and because of what I went through, you know, if I could capture, you know, up and coming chef and help them and put them
Fantastic.
and then look back and say, look, you know, I mentored that kid. I mean, that's the best feeling in the world.
So you're both of you are OGs, opportunity givers. Man.
Opportunity
You're getting
givers,
kids
yeah.
I love it. You
Yeah.
know, yeah.
And then
All three of us.
we
All three of us,
we
that's
also
right.
want to just share as well that Jorge is also a model, an actor, a motivational
Hey, now.
speaker,
Okay.
and really is dedicating himself to motivating and inspiring the youth.
Yes.
So we really appreciate that.
Yes.
And we just want to share that if Mr. OG mentioned about the Boyle Heights Technology Youth Source Center, and we've already talked to them about having you come and speak to the students.
Both of you.
And if any of you out there are part of a school or would like to have Jorge and Chef Jay-Z come and speak, since we are doing outreach for the Breaking Bread podcast, we want to spread the word
Yeah.
to as many young people age 16 to 25. So high school and college age, you know,
Yeah.
young adults.
Yeah, we're willing
please
to hit any school
Yes, and
and
please
talk to any group,
re-
organization that
please
we can.
reach out to us, and you can also reach out to us as well, Mr. OG and myself on Instagram, and we're Operation Street Kids all together, and that's KIDZ as in zebra. But yeah, we're here
Yeah,
doing
absolutely.
outreach throughout this area, the east side, the San Gabriel Valley. You
We're
know,
going to be doing 100 short films with young people. We're doing 100. We've just been approved to do 100, but we want to get. This is what we want.
Yeah, thank
Yes.
you.
This is what
Yes.
we want. We want to go there
And Mr. OG, I just want to share that the goal of the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health, the Latino USCC, is really to address the stigma.
That's
Sure.
us.
And to raise awareness, because in a lot of the families, the parents might say, oh, you don't need to get counseling, or they're not supportive, even if their child might be suicidal or going through something really, experience trauma.
Unfortunately, in the society of, our people, which is the Latino and the
Culture.
the culture, it's frowned upon.
Yes.
God forbid you're
Yes.
having a bad day and you want to kill yourself
Yes.
because now you're showing weakness. And
Exactly.
and speaking
Exactly.
for myself and my good friend right here, Chef Jay-Z, there ain't nothing weak about us.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
Yes.
there's nothing weak about you. It's just about
That's
getting
right.
through the day. So
That's
right.
right.
Heck yeah.
And that there are resources and support systems, to support young people.
yes.
And we just really want to share that the county has a lot of resources, and we really feel that the population of transitional age youth, those that may have experienced homelessness, trauma, that there are services that
Sure.
they should be able to tap into
Yeah,
as
and
well.
we want to
And
give
so
them, good word,
this
Jay.
is such an important
Yeah.
project, and we really feel that you're doing something really unique that can be
Very
can
much so.
grow and develop to reach a population that maybe needs support but has not really had those kinds of opportunities.
Yeah, so if you're looking for mentorship, to be mentored, like if you like to eat the best, take it from these two young men here. You can reach out to us, and we definitely will get back to you. We want to give a shout out to Luis, Dr. Luis, who
Guzman.
good friend of ours, Guzman, who basically has made this possible.
Yes.
And many other things that we're working on right now.
Yeah,
possible.
shout out to
to
Dr.
Luis.
Guzman. He's
Yes.
he's a good dude.
Yes.
We come from the same high school, and
Yes.
he's really going above and beyond to
Yes.
show the way and to hopefully cure mental health issues, amongst our youth.
Yes, and recently Jorge was at his high school, El Monte High School,
Yeah, that
speaking
was
to
fantastic.
about 100 youth through the Torch program. A fantastic
fantastic program.
presentation, and your documentaries also.
Thank
Excellent.
Let them know about the doc.
Excellent.
The doc.
The documentary that they just did on me, it's called Food Heroes. It's from Complex and First We Feast production group. They did a 3-day documentary on my life. They followed me on my grind and what I do. I'm a frutero. I own and operate Pushin Fruits LA, which is a fruit cart. I do, I came from selling fruit in every hood in LA County to now I'm fortunate enough to know a lot of people, and they contract me for private events now. So that's where I come from, and I'm a frutero, and my boy right here is the ultimate chef on a level 4 that you can get to, and he's a good friend of mine, and we're here to just change lives and show a couple of pointers on the way,
Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
Do we have okay, we're just about ready to fly out of here. Just give a praise report here. We have a young man that's 16, 17 who just got picked up. One of our casting, we have our own casting department, and we cast him 2 days ago, and he got the lead role, man, for
A feature film.
A feature
Nice.
film, man.
David
yeah.
Liquanda from Whittier High School.
Nice.
So
Shout
you
out,
wanna-
David.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're proud
Dave,
of him.
And so we're doing our best just to give to you. I'm Mr. OG, opportunity giver. It's been a joy being here. And remember, I always say, if no one's laughing at your dream, it's not big enough.
So
I'm out of here.
once again, we want to thank Jorge Urrea, our Breaking Bread, the podcast and YouTube series, Chef Jay-Z, for being our guest today on the Mr. OG Show.
Thank you very much
and
for having
we'll
us.
have you back again. Thank you all for tuning in to the Mr. OG Show.